we're going to talk now with legal strategist and a guy who specializes in family law, Tim Hoch, and we're talking about social media. And when it comes to social media and family and relationships, there's a whole lot of different ways this can intertwine. Good morning, Tim. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Karen?
Just fine. Well, when you first think about social media and marriage, you always think of that person you know or you've heard of who supposedly got divorced because they reconnected with someone on Facebook, like a long-lost love. But we're also learning that just the simple addiction of Facebook and Twitter can be causing problems in marriages as well.
Well, we've seen a rise in that, certainly. I've seen in my own practice, anecdotally, a rise in that. There's folks, it's an outlet for folks, and it can be good, but there is definitely a certain segment of the population that gets addicted to it and just can't let go of it.
Now, as a legal strategist, when you're dealing with people these days in this wonderful world of technology in which we live, how does all this social media and internet use intertwine? Does it really make a difference in people's marriages? Is that a reason people divorce?
It does make it. It's sort of a means to an end, right? It gives folks an opportunity to reconnect or to find out other interests or pursue other things, and so we see a lot of that. And then, of course, once the divorce process is underway, for a guy like me, it's a treasure trove of information. I mean, I can go back and look at your tweets and re-examine your Facebook posts and try to find out anything I can about you. And then, of course, I can find out anything about you related to maybe uncovering assets, whether you've gone on trips, make sure that you've not misrepresented anything to the court on social media. So it really cuts both ways, before the marriage and after the marriage.
So you really have gone on to someone's Facebook page. Let's say you're representing someone in a marriage. You've gone on to the soon-to-be ex-spouse's page and found incriminating things that you can use in your case?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I've got a woman who is seeking spousal support in one of my cases and claims disability. And you cannot imagine the number of things I found on there that really discredits her claims. And it's unfortunate, but it's there, and I've got to use it to my advantage, of course.
Well, I had a friend, and I will leave her nameless, whose husband she felt like reconnected with an ex on Facebook, and it was a pretty devastating blow for her marriage because they went on to get divorced. But she was very conscious not only of what he was doing on social media, but of text messages and everything that she could go back and use in court. And I guess you don't think like a lawyer until you have to.
Right. I mean, if you're going to put something on social media, I tell folks, go ahead and put something on social media if you'd like, but just make sure that you understand that what you post on there, you're telling to the entire world for all eternity. And so, if you want to do that, if you want to broadcast whatever you like to broadcast, there aren't, you can talk all you want about privacy settings, Snapchat, and disappearing tweets and disappearing Snapchats. It doesn't happen. I mean, I can get a screenshot of your tweet. Even if you delete it, I can get a screenshot of your Snapchat. Even if you delete it, nothing is safe. There's always a digital trail.
Okay, I hope all the kids are listening to that, too, because everybody needs to understand there is always a trail. Kind of on a semi-related note, I tell my kids all the time, anything you put on social media is going to come back to haunt you if it's anything inappropriate.
Absolutely. There's guys like me lurking out there all the time, and I want nothing more than to find something that you said. And the other thing to think about is you don't really say these things in context, right? And so I can take whatever you say, and I can make it say whatever I want it to say, right? Because I don't know whatever nuance you said it in. I don't know if you said it sarcastically. So whatever you say, I'm going to interpret the way I want to interpret it.
Very interesting. So that smiley face at the end, you maybe just would ignore that and not take it for the tone in which it was intended. Again, we're talking to legal strategist Tim Hoch. We're talking about social media and how it intertwines in all of our lives. Have you had anybody come to you for a divorce? Usually it's something like adultery or irreconcilable differences for addiction on the internet?
Well, I think that won't be the main thrust, but like I said, that'll be a symptom of a deeper problem in a marriage. It'll be someone who, maybe a spouse who's trying to find a connection that she doesn't have at home through social media. And so it's sort of a symptom of a larger problem. Now, I do have a client who currently is going through a divorce and has a spouse who has tweeted in the last 5 years 60,000 times. And so, you look at that and you think, well, now, wait a minute. Where are your allegiances and where's your interests currently in this marriage?
That's a lot of tweets, 60,000 tweets.
That's a lot, and at the end of June, she's going to be made to answer for those in front of a jury. So we'll find out how that goes.
And I suppose too, you're talking about how you, as a lawyer, are able to look at these different things as a legal strategist. I would think private detectives could certainly use Facebook in any kind of investigations as well, if they're trying to find out if somebody's even cheating or being inappropriate in a relationship.
Right. I mean, and that's another great point. So think about Facebook for a minute, right? You have that tag feature on your photos. Even if you don't go tag yourself, right, you've got, and unless you turn it off, other people who take a picture of you can tag you. So don't go into court and say, hey, I'm a pauper and I don't have any money and I can't pay spousal support to my wife, and then be tagged in a picture in Las Vegas. It's just not going to work.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this. Do you have social media accounts, or are you so involved with this in your job you're like, no way am I going to do that?
Well, lawyers, we're kind of media grabbers, so attention grabbers. I'd use a different word for that. But anyway, yeah, I've got it because, you have to have it these days. It's part of your business. It's part of your practice.
You're absolutely right. Well, I hope this gives something for everybody to think about. But again, remember, anything you put online, somebody can find it if they want to bad enough, right?
It can and will be used against you in a court of law.
All right. Tim Hoch, legal strategist, thank you so much for joining us today. Words to live by. It can and will be used against you in a court of law. Tim Hoch joining us this morning on Memphis Morning News.